Teammate Danny Kanell said, well, I don't know if Jaxson Dart has proven he's the quarterback of the future, if he deserves a new contract, but Danny played 2 good games and got a new contract. So relax there, Danny.
Whoa, shots fired.
Danny, let's start there. I call that friendly fire, good-natured firing, Mike Strahan there. Am I right?
Hold on. Let me get the knife out of my back. It's dug in there pretty deep. It kind of hurts. It hurts to see my man, who I played all 3 years of my time with the New York Giants. As long as he says it to my face, I'd be okay with that. I guarantee you he would. He'd be giving me a hard time. He'd say the same thing. I'm all good with Strahan. I just caught a stray from Strahan. I think he was a little bit upset, though. Maybe he's upset that Myles Garrett got the sack record. Maybe he's a little bit emotional, a little bit upset, so that's why he was taking some out of it on me. I don't know. That's my theory that I'm going to go with. But you would have thought, and that was not only Strahan, Jaxson Dart's dad came after me. And all I said was, I'm not sure Jaxson Dart is the future of the Giants. That literally was the line out of my mouth. You would have thought I called him the next Ryan Leaf or Jamarcus Russell. I mean, it's unbelievable how thin-skinned some people are. Giants fans turned on me, saying I'm the worst quarterback ever in the history of the franchise, which, you know, I'm sure you could make a case that might be the situation. But I was blown away by the reaction to just saying I need to see another year from Jaxson Dart for him to grow up, mature, take a step as a passer. But I guess that's life in the NFL. You know, it's life in those streets.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Jaxson Dart from a personality perspective. I'm not these guys that are wearing all these gold chains out on the field. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'm not saying that's your complaint, but it is part of mine. He plays recklessly. I don't know how you can anoint Jaxson Dart after, 10 games, because didn't he miss a few games? With injury. Yeah, yep. I don't know how you can anoint him this soon.
And he's relied a lot on his legs, to carry a part of his game. He's a great scrambler. He's a great weapon. He's even called himself a running back that plays quarterback. That is not sustainable. And I do think the biggest adjustment he's going to have, and he's going to have a lot of adjustments next year with a new coach, new coaching staff, new pieces around him. But most importantly, those defenses are going to take away his rushing. Because in year one, people are like, why don't they take it away? There's just not enough time. They don't watch film enough. They'll try to, but over an entire offseason, when NFL defensive staffs look and break down tape of Jaxson Dart, they're going to make it a priority to have him beat you from the pocket. He's made some nice throws, but his passing stats declined the last 6 games of the year. That'll be to me what the barometer is how he develops as a passer. I don't have any question about his athleticism. It's, how does he develop as a passer? You have to win from the pocket.
Danny, did you get a contract extension after 2 games? Is that true?
No, so after 2 years, I did. So which was kind of unusual, but I'll say this, and I would say this to Jaxson Dart, I would ask Michael Strahan, are you ready to give Jaxson Dart a contract extension now? I think he would say no. I wouldn't either. I don't think anybody in their sane mind would. But after 2 years, I took a very, I was a 4th-round pick. I was making league minimum. I remember at the time I was starting for the Giants, and was the cheapest quarterback in the NFL. I think I was making $231,000 as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And so my agent, Marvin Demoff, was a great legend. His son runs the Rams right now, Kevin Demoff. He might be a future commissioner of the NFL. He called me. He's like, you got a decision on your hands. Do you want to wait and try to play another year and break the bank? Or do you want to gain some financial security, take a team-friendly deal, as one of the, average starting quarterback salaries, and you'll put some money in your pocket? And I said, sign me up for that. I did not want to risk it again. Got the big payday, which at the time, I think it was a $12 million deal with $3 million up front. And all I saw of that contract was the $3 million up front, because I was cut after the first year of it. So the Giants did me a solid by giving me that, financial security. Wish I would have had more time to develop. I really think it takes 2 and even 3 years to be a starting quarterback, to really find out if you've got what it takes to develop, to learn. I wish I would have got a little bit more time, but I was a knucklehead. I didn't realize the opportunity that I had. I didn't work as hard. I've been pretty open about that. I kind of took it for granted. My success came very easily to me in every sport that I ever played. And I didn't really realize what it meant to be a pro in the NFL until I was back on the Broncos, like when I was 29 and 30, and then I was cut. And then the thing that's crazy is, and that's why when I got cut from the Broncos, it was the last time I ever played. That one stung me the most because I felt like I was a good player. That was a great backup for Jake Plummer. I was, knew what it took to prepare without having to practice all week. And they just decided to go with a younger quarterback who was cheaper. But yeah, I was a little bit of a knucklehead when I was, just getting my feet wet in the NFL.
Wow, that's fascinating to hear you say that, to acknowledge that. And we've heard Michael Vick has acknowledged that he didn't go at it as hard, but in this era, if you question anybody's work ethic, particularly a black quarterback, you risk just getting ripped. But the reality is, all these young guys, they come in the league and it feels like monopoly money and you're halfway famous. Everybody, or a lot of, it's the rare young guy that doesn't struggle with work ethic and really taking advantage of his opportunity.
For sure. I always am so blown away by hearing stories of quarterbacks who come in and they're the first guy in the building, the last guy to leave. Like, don't get me wrong. When I say knucklehead, I was never late. I was never missed practice. I never missed a meeting, but I sure wasn't there 2 hours ahead of time, which I learned later in my career that, if the meeting started at 9, which, it's pretty casual, or 8 o'clock, the true guys that get it are in the building at 7 a.m., getting a little extra work in. And then after, they're staying late, watching a little extra film, getting an extra workout in to try to make sure their body's attuned. That's the stuff I didn't understand. I will say this, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I when I was drafted in the 4th round, Dave Brown was the starting quarterback for the New York Giants. And he was sort of in a year where he was trying to prove himself and his situation was in flux. And, then I ended up taking his job and we were really good friends. He always treated me fantastic, but I wanted to get drafted by either the Broncos or the Dolphins for 2 reasons. And they were John Elway and Dan Marino, because I wanted to watch and learn. I only played 2 years of high school football. I only played 2 years of college football. And in both of those situations, I had great talent around me. I didn't really understand. Like, I needed to grow, and I was thrust into the spotlight really early and never saw a quarterback prepare the way that I think, you have to succeed in the NFL. Again, until it was too late. Like, I learned that later in my career when you become more of an expense, you're there looking to get cheaper. But it's a lesson that I had to learn the hard way. Some guys have enough natural ability and talent, they can overcome some of those early mistakes and not realizing what it takes. Other guys don't. Do you remember the reaction to Kyler Murray? And this was such a red flag for me when he signed his mega deal. And in the deal, they put that there was a minimum requirement of film study that he had to do. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, they're going to give him this contract knowing that there has to be a stipulation that he has to watch extra film. And that was my reaction. Meanwhile, the rest of the NFL world lost their minds. So, like, this is unfair to Kyler Murray. Why should he? And they took it out. They took the clause out of the contract, which was insane. I don't know if they claimed why they had to take it out, but that to me was a red flag. Yeah. And then, and then Kyler Murray said, I don't watch a lot of film. I don't feel like I need to. I can let my reactions, I'm just a playmaker. That doesn't work. I don't care how special you are. You've got to study the game, become a student of the game.
It's so pervasive because, look, the NFL, NBA, they're genetics leagues. You got to be a certain height in the NBA or there's just no room for you. And same deal kind of goes on in the NFL, particularly at certain positions. And having grown up with Jeff George, I watched his NFL career when he entered into the league and he had success everywhere. High school, junior high, college, blah, blah. And he finally got in the league among a group of peers. And the first 3 or 4 years, it was a struggle for him. And then I can remember when he went out to Oakland to play for the Raiders, and I went out to visit him and had to wait on him after practice as he did an extra workout after practice. And I was like, I've never seen Jeff do and blah, blah. But he had finally figured it out that, like, no, and that's when he had a year, I think, where he threw 29 TDs and 9 interceptions and all that, and was, and then eventually ended up in Minnesota. But it's a process for super talented people to figure out the level of work it actually requires. And some of them, never figure it out. They survive on talent. But let me move on, Danny. I want